Alright, so what is a wrapper class? Well, a wrapper class is a class that wraps up a primitive type, such as an int or a double, and it puts it inside a class object, or I should say inside an object. Since array lists can only contain objects, if you remember from a previous lesson, the Java development team created some classes whose objects act just like the primitive types. So act just like a double, a boolean, an int, a character, so on and so forth. And what's most important, that they can be used in an array list. So let's look at the wrapper classes. So the boolean primitive type has its equivalent in the wrapper class as the boolean class with a uppercase B. The char or the char, or however you want to say that, its wrapper class is the character. Notice a little bit of a different spelling with an uppercase C. And we'll see that actually with all of the wrapper classes it's uppercase. Byte, short, we're most interested here in the int and its equivalent wrapper class, the integer with a capital I, and then double with a capital D. You may actually have inadvertently utilized one of these wrapper classes before. If you, instead of writing int, you actually wrote integer, and it suggested maybe capitalizing that I, or you used a capital D for double rather than lowercase d. Java is actually pretty forgiving because there's, as we'll see here in a second, there's something called unboxing and AutoBoxing, whatever, that allow you to change really quickly between the primitive double and the wrapper class that contains double, and same thing with the int. So anyway, if you made a mistake previously, you might even not have noticed that. From the folks over there at bwagner.org, they have a real good explanation here that I thought was helpful. Each wrapper class object contains only one thing. Okay, so it's a class, or the object of that class only contains one data point, one value, and it's whatever you store inside of it. For example, you could create an object of the wrapper class double with this line of code. You could say double, and then just a variable d equals new double, and then 29.5. And what that does is it creates an object of type capital D double, and inside it has the value 29.5. Now you might say, what's the difference between this and just saying double with lowercase d? And the answer is not a whole lot, except that this is an object and the other one was a primitive. And due to some internals and some things that go a little bit beyond the scope of this discussion, array lists cannot contain double lowercase d, but they can contain doubles uppercase d. Alright, so because of that, if we want to have ints and doubles in our array list, which of course we do, we have to understand the wrapper class. So sort of a necessary intermediate step here. Just as a little side note, still from that B. Wagner website, there is this process called AutoBoxing and auto-unboxing, which Java allows you to very quickly convert from what do we say, the primitive type to the object wrapper class type. So for instance, that previous line of code where we actually declared a new double and then sent into it this value, we could have done that with this line of code right there. So double d equals 29.5, and that's something you may have done in the past. And we can, so you can think of this as if it boxes the 29.5. It puts a box around the value, and so this is what's called auto-boxing. It also will automatically unbox the wrapper class type into the primitive if you need to. So for instance, if we had another line that said double x equals d, where d was that object of type double, it will actually unwrap this value, the 29.5, and then store it into that primitive. And all of that can go on back and forth even within a simple expression. So we see here double e equals d plus 1. Well, Java will take whatever's inside d, unbox it, so it's 29.5, combine it with the 1, so then you have 30.95, and then box it back up and store it inside the wrapper class value here, e. All right, so it works, and that's really nice for us. But let's go ahead and get into an actual example with an array list. So how do we create an array list of doubles or ints? And the answer is real simple. You have your import statement, same as always, and then we just say array list, and then instead of having lowercase d right there for double, we have uppercase D, and that pretty much solves all our problems. So array list double list equals new array list double, and then we can say list.add 29.5, and we could put some more values here, and we'll do that here momentarily. If we want to get one of those values, we can say list.get 0, which that's going to be whatever happens to be at row 0, which in this case is 29.5. And you might say, whoa, isn't that going to return a value of type uppercase D double? And the answer is yes, but remember that auto unboxing, Java will unbox that value and get it just the double itself, the primitive type itself, and then store that in X. And then another example here, same type of thing. If you want to have a list of integers, of ints, you can't type int right here. You have to type the whole word integer, uppercase, and then same thing over there. You can add values, get them. It will do the AutoBoxing and unboxing itself. Let me show you what I mean here, and possibly should have started the lesson with this. But if I just put double right there and double right there, I'm going to get an error, a compile time error, syntax error. And so in this case, Eclipse says syntax error, dimensions, insert dimensions to complete the reference type. It does not like that. But if I use the wrapper class double, hey, it's going to work. Same thing here if I put int. That will not compute, will not compile. They want this dimensions thing, which I don't even know what that's talking about. So I'll say integer in those cases. So I could say, list.add 3.14, list.add 42.24, things like that. And I could print any of them out. System.out.println list.get1, and run that code, and it's going to print that value. Okay, so pretty straightforward, but it felt like we needed to have a lesson on these wrapper classes because they're important features. If we look at the assignment, I'm going to ask you to create another class, this one with an array list of integers, and then one with an array list of doubles, and bonus one down here, actually not bonus, it's required, an array list of Boolean values. And have a series of instructions on what to do on each one of those. Make sure you read the instructions on that. So in reverse order, we kind of looked at an example code of creating an array list of doubles and ints. Talked about the AutoBoxing and unboxing. That might be a little bit confusing at this point. If it is, feel free to read through that or ask me some questions. Talked about all the wrapper classes. We're only really focusing on those three at this point right here, Boolean, integer, and double, but there are lots of other neat features that they include. In fact, if you remember those wrapper classes from a previous lesson, if we didn't talk about it, then we will in the future, but it was the max value and minimum value, and some other interesting things are in there. So anyway, that's wrapper classes, and that's what they're for. Thanks for watching, and good luck taking care of your program assignment.